Hello, 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 fellas. How is it going? It is time once again to continue on for Warhammer Wednesdays. We will be continuing our wacky adventures of Trazyn the Infinite and Orokin the Diviner in reading the book The Infinite and the Divine. We're going to try to get another 50 pages done. Super excited. I've consumed the food. I got a full thing of water for when my mouth gets dry out from all that talking. I got a cat on my lap right now, keeping me warm, and it's going great. Just a slight heads up though. Well, this hasn't happened yet. It was whatchamacallit? It was storming pretty bad throughout the entire day today, and lucky for me, the power went out of the office. So I got to go home early. Now, power hasn't gone out the house yet, but I'm saying that could be a possibility that might happen. But honestly, it shouldn't. The storm's pretty much all but passed now, so it should be good. But just a heads up, if the stream suddenly decides to turn off, skill issue. How is that a skill issue? That's just Mother Nature, you know, being like, hey yo, you're not allowed to stream today. Stop. Ain't no goddamn skill issue. Why would it ever be a skill issue? But all right. Where we left off at, Trazyn was in his museum. He found, he figured out that somebody broke in, and it was Orokin the Diviner. He's the one who broke in. He's trying to steal something from the War in Heaven gallery. I forget what the thing was called, but he's trying to steal it. Trazyn obviously doesn't want him to steal it, and we left off on them talking back and forth, and them, you know, like sizing each other up, trying to, you know, get some hits in and stuff like that. I think right now Trazyn has the upper hand, because it feels like he damaged Orokin a pretty decent amount. So we'll get to see. We'll get. Obviously, Orokin's not gonna die here, but we'll see. We'll see how he gets out of this. You know, because that will be fun. And if you like these Warhammer Wednesdays, please tell me, show your support and whatnot. I would love to see all that. I'd love to do more things as well. Maybe paint some miniatures or something. You know, put some stuff together. That's a maybe though. I'd be a bit afraid to put together like super expensive miniatures. I'm afraid I wouldn't be like, what should we call it, skilled enough to do so. That's pretty much it. But yeah, all right, let's see where we left off. I don't know where specifically on page 50 did we stop. Let me take a look here. This Astaria Mysteriosus. No, don't you think it clumsy? We'll have a prediction for you, dear Orokin. He released his obliterator. It stood immobile, balanced on its pointed staff, and held the hand to his steely forehead as if glimpsing the ethereal, a vision of your own future. Oh, that is right. He was mocking Orokin and his time powers. Okay. I'm gonna turn the music down just a little bit, just so I can properly read. There we go. Okay. Right. Yeah. He was mocking Orokin. Okay. Oh, and again, just a heads up. It's been a long time since I actually read a book. I'm gonna mess up a lot of words. Okay. Not to mention, I'm fairly certain I have dyslexia. My dad has it, and I know that stuff gets passed down. So bear with me, please. I will mess up on things. It is inevitable. Okay. I'm gonna be starting right here. The glassy floor... I already messed up. There it is. The glassy floor rumbled and ancient tomb doors... The glassy floor rumbled as ancient tomb doors tomb doors grated open. Monoliths rose around the gallery, scraping against the time-worn slabs as they ground from their stasis chambers. Inside each stood a sarcophagus niche shrouded with milky green fog. The vapor washed heavily towards the floor, lit from within like storm clouds as animation systems crackled to life. And as it sank, the fog revealed crested helms, dispersion shields, tongue twister, dispersion shields, and bladed weapons stood ready in inert hands. A phalanx of lich guards, eye sockets dark. In my vision, Trazyn continued, I see you as a permanent addition to my gallery. You are, after all, a priceless antique, are you not? Orokin the Diviner, seer of the Necrontyr, maker of predictions, who warned our king against accepting the deceiver's horrific bargain. He chuckled, raised the Astarium Mysteriosus. I think I'll put you somewhere where you can gaze on this, just out of reach for eternity. The worst thing about biotransference, said Orokin. Oh yeah, that's right. Orokin was damaged and his vocals are a little bit out of whack. Said Orokin, his voice recovering, is that the flesh times you at least stopped to breathe every once in a while. Trazyn laughed. I've always envied your acid tongue. He raped the floor twice with his obliterator's haft. Perhaps... Oh no, rapped. That... I am so sorry. He rapped the floor. Perhaps I'll display it separately. The Lich Guard's eyes flared as one, popping like fuses. They lowered long wraith size, snapped into positions, and advanced. Contracting circle of metal closed on the diviner. You call me a predictor, Trazyn, spat Orokin, but mere prediction is no longer of use to me. What use are visions when powerful refuse to heed them? This is true. You march to your doom, believing the deceiver's promises over Aguaries. Are you reading the Infinite Divine? I am. I'm on page 51 right now. It's a good book. Yeah, it is really good. I like it. Why speak truth to those that choose to be deaf to it? A hyperphase blaze, vibrating in and out of reality, drew closer around the diviner. Energy fields sizzled in the dry air of the hermetically. Energy fields sizzled in the dry air of the hermetically sealed chamber. They were 30 steps away, then 20. Since you all turned your back on me, my powers have grown, said Orokin, and I have changed my focus. Trazyn could see the astromancer's cranial coolants were running at triple capacity. Beads of condense... Wait, no, that's not condense. I'm stupid. Beads of condensate. That's what it was. I don't know why I read it condensed. Beads of condensate pluming on his golden hood and running down to sizzle on his long skull. Why predict the future, said Orokin, when I can reshape it? How, exactly, said Trazyn. Then to the Lich Guard. Mind the artifacts. How else do you shape the future, Orokin said. A smile in his avian voice. He fixed Trazyn with a stare. By destroying the past. Uh-oh. Trazyn saw the blow just as Orokin's head twitched. He threw himself forward, shouting on interception trajectory. He knew could not succeed. There was no way to be faster than a chronomancer. Orokin's head slammed backward into the plinth behind him. Metal dented and cracked. Levitator arrays shorted out. The eggshell thin Cermatics? Or Kermatics? I want to say Cermatics. The eggshell thin Cermatics rotating the priceless constellation dropped. The diviner spoke an arcane word that burst the stasis field and scrambled out of the way. Hands crawling for purchase on the floor. Half-functioning feet launched him off the plinth, slamming the ground like pistons to drive himself forward, scrambling, then crawling. Oh, okay. You want to move, kitty? No? We're going to move back? Okay. You got off the lap? You got off my lap? And then immediately went back on. I hope you know that. As he moved, his body... superheated. As he moved, his body superheated, welding damaged pieces together. Ghostly vapor twisted up from the severed vertebrae of his spine. Cables seeking each other out like bloodworms sniffing for a mate. Should react to Adeptus Ridiculous. They lore dump everything and make it funny while doing it. Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd probably be pretty cool. You play the tabletop? I do not. I don't have any minis. I would love to have minis. That'd be pretty cool. Have a stream where I put them together and paint them. Trazyn cared not. He died for the falling relics, slowing his chronosense to try to make a decision. It was mathematically impossible to save them all, but one he could save, one priceless example of Necrontier's sermonic work. Working angles and probabilities, he chose a bright purple jar. Oh, Sautek. Okay, whew, I almost butchered that word. Sautek, 4th Dynasty. A scene of the midsummer sky above the Necrontier homeworld, a starfield shining through the glaze of twilight. It fell directly into the cup of his hands, so focused on it that Trazyn would see the imprint of the potter's fingerprints beneath the bright paint. But Necron hands were not meant to handle such fine pottery. It contacted his palm and crushed inward, cracks shooting through as if a summer lightning storm had split the sky of Trazyn's half-forgotten homeworld. His chronosense dialed back to its slowest. Every moment of the jar's destruction played out in individual tragedies. I almost said trajectories. Itchy nose. Play on Simulator, can't afford them either. Play the World Eaters. Oh, you play the Angie Boys. I'd probably either play as the Necrons or the Custodians, one of the two. I really like my Skelly Boys and my Golden Banana Boys. Around him, the Sermanics fell like hell, scattering painted shards as they smashed against the floor. Barbarian, Trazyn roared, his restoration protocols already running a damage analysis, matching pot shreds by break pattern and sorting artistic styles as he shouted commands to the Lich Guards. Oh, I don't think I'll be able to read that word. Oh, whatever the 12th Dynasty is, that word. Yeah, I am not gonna be able to read that word. Yeah, whatever the name is for the 12th dynasty, that word for the Necrons. Kill him. Thokot. No. Thokt. Thokt, 19th dynasty. Kill him. I'm not gonna be able to read that one either. The 12, whatever the 13th dynasty name is. Kill him. Orokin called the fallen staff of tomorrow to his hand as if it were a living thing. First, Lichkar bore down on him before he could even stand. A mistake. Orokin scuttled backward like a crab, thrusting his staff at the Lich Guard's oculars. When the Tomb Guard raised his dispersion shield, the diviner sighed the staff, and lo, the blazing halo of its headpiece severing both legs at the ankles. Necrons have been the best faction for years now. Hate finding them, it's too meta. Nihilic Dynasty. Yeah, it's the 12th Dynasty. You got the name somewhat right. It's spelled Nihilakh. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to pronounce that. Some of these words I wouldn't even be able to pronounce. Doesn't help that I'm bad with words already, but hey, to each their own. But no, the Necrons, I really been enjoying them and whatnot. I really like the stuff from the War in Heaven and all that other good cool junk. They're awesome. And then I do like the Custodies. I like the Golden Banana Boys. Custodies are awesome. They're so good on their way to a battle. It's already marked as a win in the books, and they're not even there yet. It's so funny. As the guard fell, Orokin sprang to his feet, slamming the pointed haft of his staff into the fallen warrior's segmented throat. He shot an electric discharge through the staff and overloaded the foe's neural matrix. The warrior... Oh, okay. Whew, I almost read a line the same way. The warrior's oculars, awakened after 60 million years of sleep, winked out. Orokin ducked, a war scythe passing a finger's span over his head. He kicked out backwards, destabling the opponent, and broke off, dodging behind a display of gold-inlaid smoking pipes to buy himself a moment. The Lich Guard recovered and stalked towards him. Idiot, the ceramics, shouted Trazyn, hastily casting a stasis field around the ruined shards. Watch where you step. Lichguard stalled, turned, went around, and they stalled a wide perimeter outside the priceless debris field. Their circular formation growing ragged, holes in the net developing as one group pressed in faster than the other. Orokin circled around the pipe display, keeping it between him and the closest guards, his back momentarily shielded by the broken ceramics. Surrender the Mysteriosis, Trazyn, and this can end. You have... Don't block my tracking. You have broken all covenants, Astromancer, all rules of protocol, destroyed the last example of our worlds. Orokin planked his foot against the display and shoved. For a sickening instant, it creaked over like an axed tree. The racks of pipes held in an impossible symmetry until the axe's field gave out, and they crashed down at the advancing Lich Guard's feet. Stop, Trazyn pleaded. I like how Orokin is he's actually getting away by just breaking Trazyn's stuff in his museum. And Trazyn can't help but like try to save the broken things that are following and whatnot. Even slowing his chronosense to move his fingers out of the way to not even touch the blueprints for it to ultimately get crushed in his hand because it's made of metal. That is hilarious. You actually want my stream's thumbnail? Yeah, it was a random image that I just like found on Twitter, and I found it hilarious. I put it in one of the chats on my Discord server, and I was like, oh god damn it, not again. And then like pretended to open up Elden Ring and then boot up the game and be like, oh my god, Trazyn stole the fucking tree. God dang it. And then looks down, sees a note, opens note, took the tree, hope you don't mind, XOXO, Trazyn the Infinite. Hi, kitty cat. Is it in your Discord? Yeah, it's in my yeah, it's still in my Discord. It's in the game chat. Go on, kitty. I know you want to walk across. Okay. Yeah, it's in my game chat. You do gotta be whatchamacallit? You do gotta be 18 plus to join the server. Because I keep my Discord server 18 plus. Because I curse and say I curse like a sailor and say some things that people under the age of 8 sometimes will say stuff that people under the age of 18 should not be saying. Kitty, you're just walking back and forth. Here, go lie down in the bed. Stay positive, stay hydrated, stay safe, lots of love. I got the water. Don't worry about it. We definitely staying hydrated in these trying times. My kitty is wanting attention right now, but I has to read book. Let's see. Oh, okay, we're at the top here. Yep, okay, we're at the top. Kitty is contemplating the politics. Oh boy. All right, let's continue. Orokin is destroying stuff to get away from Trazyn, and the funny part is that it's working. The ancient pipes shattered. Bowls that once held Dreamtar husbanded? Okay, that's a word. Bowls that once held Dreamtar husbanded in forgotten temple gardens, scattered, broken amongst the feet of the Lich Guard, who froze mid-step, torn between the command to advance and the ones that prevented them from damaging the artifacts. I can get. Orokin put his shoulder against the case of a surgical instrument and heaved. Grabbed this disintegrating scroll. Oh, disintegrate. Yeah, that is disintegrating. Grabbed a disintegrating scroll and threw it across the chamber like a streamer, completing his barrier of. I was summoned. Uh-oh. Hello, Trazyn the Infinite. I'm reading about the time where whatchamacallit, Orokin broke into your museum and is throwing some of your things around. It's definitely not looking pretty good. This is kind of mean of him. After he tried to steal something from the War in Heaven gallery. Shoot, where was I? Like a streamer contemplating his barrier of antiques. Oh, completing. Why did I say contemplating? Completing his barrier of antiques. His own warding circle of defacement. What's new? He always does that. Yeah. Yeah. Where are we? There we go. The Lich Guard halted, awaiting orders. If you wish to treat with me, scribe, sneered Orokin, come inside. Trazyn obligated, vaulting the debris, channeling power through to his leap, his obliterator swinging down like a great hammer. It drove down Orokin's staff, the iron clang of their meeting echoing off the walls. For an instant, the lodestones of their weapons touched, sizzling and popping like power cables in water. Trazyn shoved the diviner backward with the haft of his obliterator. Then the staffs swirled and clashed again, wheeling so fast that they left spectral fans of energy in their wake. Vandal, Trazyn roared. Vandal, Trazyn roared, thrusting his obliterator like a spear. You have destroyed objects made by craftsmen dead long before we breathed. Pieces of our past that can never be remade. Orokin parried, rolling the blow upward and leaping sideways to avoid the downward chop that followed it. Useless things. Fetishes of a vanished past. Trazyn reversed his obliterator and slapped the staff into Orokin's side, staggering the diviner. The chronomancer backpedaled, wisps of radioactive aurora twisting from the burn in his lower thorax. I appreciate your help, Kadia. Can't access your server at all. Wanted the thumbnail to share with your friends. Oh, is the link not working? Oh, the link is working. Hold on. The link is working. I forgot. I have an age verification thing. A copy link. There we go. You don't have to share your identification. All you just got to do is just give me your birthday. That's it. All I ask is for your birthday. You don't need to take a picture of like your license or anything. I'm not looking for anything like that. Yeah, there you go. That's good. Close that. Nope, transcript. There we go. All right, if you go into my games chat and scroll up, you'll see it. Yeah, when it comes to the age verification, all I'm looking for is birthday. I don't need no personal ID. I don't want your personal ID. just give me your birthday, we'll be good. Where are we? Page 55, right at the very top. Trazyn came on again, his fury burning. Circuits flared hot. Vicious electrofluid pumped through his system like magma. Neither of them were warriors. For Trazyn, the dust of the archive was more familiar than that of a parade ground. And Orokin had spent eons training his mind and neglecting his body. Had this duel occurred during the flesh times, it would have been comical. Two withered ancients, round-shouldered, stained with ink and smelling of incense, tearing at each other with barely the strength to bruise. But biotransfer had, for all its horrors, made every Necron an armored juggernaut. Those two swung at each other, filling the gathering with sounds of the forge. They locked weapons, shoved and bashed their plated skulls like horned beasts. The Lich Guard looked on, impassive. They knew an aristocratic duel when they saw it, though none had seen one quite like this. Orokin broke away, whirling. "Give me the Mysteriosus, Trazyn. I will tear you." Orokin sent the staff of tomorrow spinning end over end across the chamber, its head burning the air, so it left the afterimage of a discus that seethed into scythed into a case of antiques. God, I butchered that so much. No. Trazyn smashed the obliterator down, and the diviner met it with a logarithm? Yeah, met it with the logarithm of Sulit, conjuring a swirl of ochre? Ocher? Ocher? O-C-H-E-R. I don't think I'm going to be able to pronounce that right. Void that he wielded like a buckler. Incompatible relics, incompatible realities clashed. The solar flare of the ancient weapon meeting the lightless aether in a backfire that extinguished the tiny... Oh, goodness. That extinguished the tiny portal and threw the obliterator from Trazyn's grip. Such was his fury, he cared not. Trazyn leapt up on the astromancer and bent him with his bare fists. Each clashing blow left imprints on the living metal of Orokin's necrodermis. Orokin tried to scuttle out from under the archivist? Yeah. Orokin tried to scuttle out from under the archivist, but Trazyn grabbed a string of ritual tiles and dragged him back so roughly that one tile sheared off in his gasp. Alarm gongs and trumpet klaxons? Yeah. Alarm gongs and trumpet klaxons filled the air. Swarms of restoration scarabs crawled down the wall like curtains. Their instinctual protocols calling them to preserve the scene. Trazyn saw none of it. His oculars were deep focused on Orokin, fists slamming down over and over, sparks showering from each blow. The diviner laughed. Bodies as resilient as theirs could do little damage without the aid of phase weapons and flares. Yet Trazyn kept hammering, beating the diviner into the floor until he felt weak. No, he was weak. Only then did he notice the diviner's questing tail wrap around his throat, closing off his cable artery? Yeah, cable artery, pinching off the coolant that kept his neurals from overheating. "Barbarian," Trazyn said, rolling to the side, his anger spent. Orokin sprang to his feet, ready, called his staff. "This can end, archivist," he crowed. "Surrender the Mysteriosus and it will stop." Trazyn struggled to his feet. Metallic dust from the pool... Itchy nose. Itchy nose. Ugh. Okay, we'll restart. Trazyn struggled to his feet. Metallic dust from the pulverized floor shaking loose from his scaled cloak. Is it truly worth so much, Orokin? He spread He spread a hand at the destruction. What it is worth to me is immaterial, said Orokin. The question is, what is it worth to you? Is it worth every object in this gallery? Because I am willing to pull this chamber in upon itself if that is what is required. Our heritage, our legacy. If it is so important, sacrifice one to save all. Trazyn wiped his hands together as a nervous habit from a long time ago. So long ago. When they were entirely stained with ink. Calculations whirled in his matrices? Yeah, calculations whirled in his matrices. If then logic problems created and discarded. If he orders the Lich Guard to advance, the artifacts become irrecoverable and Orokin destroys the gallery. No. If he attacks Orokin, then Orokin continues his rampage. No. If he gives up the Asteria Mysteriosus, Trazyn slid long fingers into his dimensional pocket and withdrew the Mysteriosus. Such a small thing. Insignificant, really. A curiosity. A replica of a mythical object that never existed. At least he had assumed so. Orokin clearly thought different. A bargain, said Trazyn. His voice had a tinge of desperation, so alien that he saw two more sentient Lich Guards exchange a glance. You are a chronomancer, perhaps the greatest of your kind, and you can undo this destruction. It would be nothing for you. Orokin paused, considering. I can. Then do it. First, hand over the device. I am not a simpleton diviner. Orokin spread his hands. You have me surrounded. Once restored, you may resume your interest in my preservation. Shall I give away 1 point of leverage so easily? Trazyn hesitated, stepped forward. Orokin withdrew a step. Trazyn placed the puzzle box on the ground as carefully as if it were a newborn, and stepped back. Now your part, he said. Orokin's eye narrowed for a microsecond. And for a microsecond, Trazyn thought he had detected regret in that gaze. He did not step forward to take the device. The difficulty, Trazyn, is that undergoing the damage means traveling back in the timeline before all this occurred. He met Trazyn's gaze. And if I did that, you would have no memory of this accord. Trazyn saw the transdimensional beamer, knew what it meant. Canoptic wraiths use them to banish unwanted construction debris into extra-dimensional space. A large-scale version of the pocket dimension he kept at his own hip. Orokin's snapshot caught the Mysteriosus, lancing it out of existence, sending it somewhere in the great nowhere. Trazyn dived for Orokin as the diviner turned to sidearm on himself. By the time Trazyn's hands got there, nothing occupied the space but empty air. Trazyn the Infinite, the archivist of the Solomon's Galleries, stood in the center of his ruined past and howled for revenge. Okay, so he was like, all right, listen, I'll give you the thing, but you gotta repair everything, Orokin, okay? Orokin was like, bet, all right? Just hand me the thing. I'll do it. He was like, no, you fix it first. Like, dude, come on. You got me surrounded. There's no way I can leave. Come on, just give me the thing first. And he's like, all right, fine. He meets Orokin halfway and just drops on the floor. And he's like, there, and then steps back. He's like, all right, there you go. Take it and then fix everything. So he's like, all right, cool. By the way, in order for me to fix everything, I got to reverse the timeline a little bit. And that means none of this would have ever happened. You would forget this whole ordeal and I'd be out of the item that I'm wanting. So bye. Takes the thing and leaves. I'm at chapter 4, Jerry. Need a counter for every time streamer needs to scratch his nose. Listen, it's springtime. Okay? Springtime. The nose is itchy. I got them springly allergies, if you know what I mean. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're doing fantastic on time. Okay. I'm gonna we'll stop when a 3-minute ad break occurs on the Twitch side of things. Oh! Breathe, big breaths, please. You know, water. All right, chapter 4. Solomance was famous for its galleries, sweeping reconstructions of battles, titanic heroes preserved in hard light, recreations of history's greatest moments, even before the Great Sleep. Excuse me. Even before the Great Sleep, Trazyn had entertained visitors from nearly every dynasty within his collection of wonders. What was less known was that it also contained one of the greatest documented collections in the galaxy, a rival even to the Eldari's fabled Black Library. Live reading of the Infinite Divine? Yes, sir! I'm on page 60 right now. I just got into chapter 4. Is it chapter 4? Yeah, chapter 4. Trazyn, after all, had once been a chronicler or chronicler? Chronicler. That almost sounds right. Love this novel. I'm loving this novel right now too. It's pretty cool. I like how Orokin was like, yo, just give me the thing and I'll fix everything. And then Trazyn gives him things like psych and then dips. It's so funny. And archivist. Though artifacts were his passion, he did not neglect the written word. It was not a project that required his close attention. He handled acquisitions, of course, for that was the most interesting part. But the rest he delegated? Yeah. But the rest he delegated to cryptic scribes who cataloged, cross-referenced, and digitized each work. Trazyn hoped that in another 10 millennia, when the Necron legions were destined to awaken, all of their literature, his history, and discourses would be accessible. A mnemonic copy sent to the library of each tomb world. A great work for the benefit of all. Trazyn liked great works. Indeed, he had been awake for longer than even a handful of his early risen kin, and had learned quickly that lofty pursuits were an essential component to immortality. A Necron overlord's greatest enemy was not the savage orcs, the gasping humans, or the cunning Eldari. No, the grasping humans are the cunning Eldari. Boredom was the greatest foe. One that must be continuously battled, lest madness or despondency set in. I'm sorry, I'm having so hard with words. Have I gotten to the play part yet? I don't think so. I don't think I have. Where was I? There it is. So he had his gallery and his holographic archive ready to gift once his kin arose. And besides, if all tomb worlds had their own archives, no researchers will come to muck about in his. Nobody touching his precious manuscripts or asking obnoxious questions. Trazyn was not feeling charitable as he stalked down into the depths of Solomon's. Past his restoration rooms and extensive wine cellar, he approached the carved wooden doors of the library, warm and inviting, and threw them open with a shove that stressed the hinges. His fury, though terrible, was always brief. Trazyn did not burn hot for long. His anger was cold and dry like the desert night. A focused, lasting anger, both practical and useful. Shelves reached to the ceiling, rotating cradles like the side wheels of great river barges, held arcane tomes and scrolls. Cryptechs paused in their copying, stunned. All right, you have a good one. I require assistance, he said. Then solitude. Of course, my lord, said the chief librarian. Is this about the proposed expansion? The what? The cryptic bowed, obsequious? Obsequious. The stacks are full, my lord. We are over capacity. I have humbly suggested that we expand the collection into space currently occupied by the wine cellars. But then where would I put my wine, librarian? You do not drink wine, my lord. Of course I don't, Trazyn snapped. It's far too valuable. Request denied. Enlist excavation wraiths to dig another chamber, my lord. And bring me everything you have about the war in heaven. Pharaon Nephrinth and the Astaria Mysteriosus. I want the physical manuscripts. Quite the electric subject, Lord Archivist. He called up a Fosglyph panel and ran a text scry. In addition to the larger works, there are many small references in various mediums that need special handling and transport. There are sheet gold scrolls, foundation steel? Not like STEEL, but STEEL? And then platinum slab tablets. Everything, Trazyn said, in a tone that did not brook dissent. Bring it all, then go away. I will be some time. Yes, sire. But first bring me the legal code. The volumes on interdynastic theft and traits and trials, not traits, trials. Is there to be a trial, my lord? Oh yes, said Trazyn. Fingering the ritual tile he had ripped from Orokin's frame, there most certainly will be. Mandragora? Yeah, Mandragora, Eastern Fringe. 9 standard years later. Mandragora the Golden. Mandragora the Emerald Skies. Mandragora the dynastic seat of the mighty Sautek. Orokin despised it even now. Even as he'd excited. Yeah. Even as he'd excited the Dolmen Gate, the scars of his perilous journey fresh on his necrodermis, he could not help but realize his venom. Release. Sorry, he could not help but release his venom. My bad. The land of whispers, and psychophants. I should have stayed with the Drukari. Oh, 3-minute ad break is starting soon. Okay, I will get through this page and we'll take a stop. Once the third most powerful dynasty in the Necron Empire, the crown world of the Sautek was a dead place. Great sand dunes drifted against the ziggurats and palaces, burying them beneath the golden cascades that mocked its grand title. Windstorms scoured in its monuments with the planet's abrasive silica grains, stripping the gilded sepulchres. Oh, that's a word. And obelisks to their living metal interior, and giving the entire city, or what one could see of it, the appearance of brushed steel. Few distinct. Oh, hi, kitty cat. I can't have you sit in my lap right now. I'm reading. Okay. Few districts retained their. Oh, okay. No, cat. Thank you. Few districts retained their grandeur, sheltered in the lee of great stasis homes, and spared the caustic attentions of wind-blown sand. There, statues of ancient pharaohs still stared imperious over the desert. Faces distinct and spared the weathering of less fortunate monuments. There, the few hundred awakened members of the Sautek dynasty lived pantomime existence. Thank you for the follow. Awakened 10,000 years too early, busying themselves taking care of a world that was largely self-sufficient, waiting for the distant day when the countless billions of sleepers would emerge. Okay, we'll stop right here, wait for the ad break, because the ad break's going to come and I won't be able to get through this page in time. Then I will take a small breather. What's up? Okay, so I think as right now, it looks like Trazyn is looking to invoke a trial, which I knew there's going to be a trial at some point in this book, and it looks like it's going to be now, because Orokin broke his stuff. Orokin broke his stuff. Trazyn doesn't like that. And I think we're following Trazyn right now. But not Trazyn, Orokin. We're following Orokin right now. We're following where he teleported to. Dash what it is. And kitty cat, I love you, but you can't shit in the lap right now. Okay, bye, Hoyo. You have a good one. Mm-hmm. Old friend, how we doing? We're doing all right. I'm on my Warhammer Lore Crusade arc. Reading The Infinite and the Divine by Robert Rath. It's been going pretty good so far. It's really just about two old robots just bickering back and forth. It's really funny. I like it. Alright, we got like 30 seconds before that ad break starts. It'll be 3 minutes of ads, then we can read this for another hour. I'm hoping to at least get to page 100, which doesn't seem that far off, even though we are on page 63. But I feel like we can get there with ease. We could definitely get there with relative ease. Oh. Oh, my nose. It's itchy. I think I need to take some NyQuil tonight. These seasonal allergies are really getting to me. And it's not fun. Not fun at all. Burp. Burp. But let's see. Someone in chat mentioned earlier that I should watch what you call it? Oh, the 3-minute ad break started. Okay. But that I should give a reaction to. Where is it? Hey, fine. In your Discord. Okay, I swore. There's more up here. Adept is ridiculous. I don't think I've heard of that one. I've heard of. Yeah, he said I should watch Adept is ridiculous. I haven't heard of that. I've heard of if the Emperor had a text-to-speech device. I heard that was a series and whatnot. Though it had to stop because I think Games Workshop made them stop, which is a real shame. I heard if the Emperor had a text-to-speech device, it was really funny. I should probably give that a watch as well. You know, we can do a little React Andy stuff. Speaking of React Andy, I do have try not to laugh submissions going on the server right now, and whoever makes me laugh will get a special role in the Discord, and they keep that role until I do it again, until I do that try not to laugh stuff again. And the submissions are still open, so if anybody's on the Discord, you can just go ahead and give it in there. I know the other good stuff, and then I'll react to Adeptus ridiculous, and then probably if the Emperor had a text-to-speech device, because that one also sounds really good. I've seen some snippets of if the Emperor had a text-to-speech device, and they were funny. They were hilarious. It made me laugh so much. Though, if I'm being honest, I feel like I might struggle with reacts a bit. I've tried like way in the past. There's super old videos on my YouTube, but I feel like they were just downright terrible. Mainly one, I was still trying to get used to like talking on camera, like in a recording session, you know. And then you never really saw my face. I didn't have a face cam, nor did I have this model yet. So it was kind of hard to tell if I was like laughing or not, even though I think I laughed pretty quickly at a lot of that stuff. But you know, all that to each their own, all that other good stuff. Look at that, the ad break is over already. Hello people, hello, welcome. Hope you're all doing fantastic. I sure as heck am doing fantastic. I figured that you didn't remember, but now I remember you. You're Nick from high school. I remember you, big man. All right, we're back on page 63 at the very top. Orokin stayed well away from those districts. Before the Great Sleep, he'd found Mandragora. He found Mandragora oppressive. So many beings milling, clamoring, constantly interrupting, constant politics, petty creatures struggling for petty victories. It had been a difficult place to focus. Even achieving a basic chrono trance required shutting the world out with slab-thick walls in his astromanic observatory. Perched on the humped mountain overlooking the city and above its sky-raising glow. Yet maintaining a presence that was necessary. Professional preferences aside, Mandragora was the Sautech power center. And Orokin cannot be a court astromancer from his hermetic age of... from his hermetic age on Rithkame. Yeah, Rithkame. More's the pity. But Mandragora had much to recommend itself in these strange days. A stable dolmen gate across the webway, the quite dark of a dead sterile metropolis, and of course an automated defense grid that was the best in the Empire. Just the sort of thing you need if you've stolen from one of the most dangerous beings in the galaxy. Using the transdimensional beamer, he had a desperate risk. Little better than casting lots. He adjusted the translocation paths to his own specifications, of course. Orokin was reckless, not dull-witted, but there had been a chance some infinitesimal variable would mar his transit. A chance that increased the glowing tunnels of the webway. He would have sprung back into reality in the heart of a star, or floating in deep space between dimensions. Even absent those extreme cases, there was every possibility that he would come out at a random point in spacetime, forced to adjust and use the beamer again and again, hoping the increasingly wild translations would bring him home, and not to realities increasingly apparent from his own. That would not have been ideal, but also not a tragedy. After all, Orokin had time. But his astromanic divinations power proved true enough, and his translation landed him in a disused portion of the webway. Not the exact point he intended, unfortunately, but close enough. Then again, it was possible that it was exactly the spot he'd meant. But that network had changed into something unrecognizable. With the webway destabilized, it was increasingly difficult to tell. The Adari's great cataclysm had rocked the network to its foundations, snapping away arcways that used to see fleets pass and flinging them into the immaterium. Unthings from that dimension of madness increasingly stalked the corridors, and every cycle of the Adari's witch sears collapsed more pathways to keep the evils out. Orokin had wound through the coils of the labyrinth dimension, clearing passages and lurking in shadows. What remained of the old enemy civilization was in flight, Neo-primitives like the ones Trazyn had pillaged, migrating to new home worlds. Vicious raiders hunting their own, all social bonds broken. Refugees, eyes hollow with fear, hurtling helter-skelter, that's a word, helter-skelter, through the halls without regard for where they headed. Orokin did not blame them. After all, what young race birth that had shaken him so badly he needed a century of meditation to recover, and he'd merely glimpsed it via astral precognition. Yeah, via astral precognition. The Adari's time upon the stage was ending in an era of lamentation and horror. That I struggled with that one. I'm so sorry. The Adari's time upon the stage was ending in an era of lamentation and horror. Fair comeuppance, he said, upon witnessing his first group of refugees, for what your decadence has unleashed upon the galaxy. Slithering between the chaos and the doubling back and hiding turned a 1-month transit from Solomance to Mandragora into a 9-year odyssey. 3 cycles alone had been spent burning his way through winding corridor and 3 cycles alone had been spent burning his way through a winding corridor infested with carnivorous fungoid blooms. His carapace bore new scars, talismans of an unfortunate encounter with the Drukhari incubi, and his power plants needed refurbishment. But mostly, he required time for meditation and study. Now, atop his Astromancer's tower, he watched the stars, sensing gravity's pull on the transit of planets. Its infinite algebraic possibility influencing even the smallest events in the galaxy. The astronomers of old, stupid and superstitious as they had been, had guessed at his connection. But their pathetic spirality? Yeah, but their pathetic spirality had little to do with this scientific precision, or can now use the chart to pull of no or can now use the charts the pull of gravity and the flow of particles, the bending of space-time around sucking black holes, the chain of bizarre casualty that could turn a breath on one continent into a typhoon on another. Those lines of power, light, energy, and time tended to snare around certain objects, like the one that floated slowly turning at the center of the observation deck. Jade shadows underlit it from Suspenser? Yeah, jade shadows underlit it from the Suspenser field beneath. The Phos glyph equations and grids written on the very air, surrounded in a cloud. Lines traced from each theorem to multi-sided surface of the Astarium Mysteriosus. Automonic calculators measured and remeasured each face, edge, and vertex. There were 8, 12, and 6, respectively. A perfect octahedron. Yeah, a perfect octahedron. Which is puzzling, he said aloud to the Mysteriosus, because according to my engrammatic Because according to my engrammatic banks, you were a pyramid when I left the Solomons. Oh, it changed shape. He tried to review his he tried to review his mnemonic data and pinpoint the exact moment of this transmutation. But it was useless. The mirror geometry of the webway, especially since the cataclysm, fouled his recall systems into a dreamlike blur. You have undergone a transmutation. No surprise, as that is your function. But exactly when did you change? He asked. Rhetorically. It was sometimes easier to think aloud. Split his consciousness into a portion that simulated questions and a portion that searched for possible answers. What was the catalyst for this transmutation? What was the method? Spectromagnetic analysis indicated the device composed of solid living metal, the same substance that made up the tower, his staff, and Orokin's own necrodermis. There were also trace amounts of mercury and unknown crystal buried in its heart. Strange. Not standard components in Necron technology. Little wonder Trazyn, blind to metaphysical and lacking imagination, labeled it a forgery. Even those initiated into the cryptic mysteries, if they lacked significant study and insight, one would have thought the same. Orokin had possessed the Mysteriosis for a decade, and he still cannot ken the basics of its operation. Perhaps it was time dependent, gradually opening as the eons ground on, ensuring that shorter-lived races would never access its secrets. Conversely, he mused, the answering part of his consciousness taking over, it is possible contact with the webway activated it, or that it lay inert until it passed through a dullment gate. Such security measure would keep it from being activated outside the control of its makers. The Amunos dynasty, dead gods cursed their lifeless atoms and had been removed for their secrecy and paranoia. In moments of frustration, Orokin took pleasure in imagining the solar flare, ionizing the neural matrices of the sleeping dynasty, shockwaves scrambling their tomb world's magnetic field and rendering all systems inert, the mass neural death in the span of a few minutes. Too bad they hadn't been awake to feel it. Over the past cycle, Orokin bombarded the Mysteriosis with every energy wave he considered safe, spoken to it in hex decrypt, and even tried contacting any hidden consciousness through the neurotransference. He raised 12 cryptechs in body only, mind still at rest, and installed them kneeling around the observation deck. He networked their blank minds he networked their blank minds with his to increase the analytic capacity and engrammatic storage, running theorems and suppositions until two of them overheated, blue flames bursting from their ocular sockets before they translated the Resurrection Forge to rebuild. Nothing. He had called scarabs to clean up the ash piles when he noticed that one did not follow the swarm. One with a jeweled red backplate. What? He said. Resisting the urge to crush it beneath his foot, the little drone knelt in a servile bow, shaking slightly in his presence. Its carcapus scissored open to reveal a message or orbiculum. Yeah, to reveal a message orbiculum. The chrysopae's projection juggered and flickered for a moment, resolving into one being Orokin did not want to see. Master Orokin, seer of the Sautek, the one called Diviner, said the tall being, staring into his eyes as if she were standing in the room. I am Executioner? Yeah, I am Executioner Phyllis of the Triarch Praetorians. Herald of the Awakened Council. By order of the Council, you are to present yourself on Bakura with immediate haste to face accusations brought by Trazyn, Overlord of Sulaments and Archivist of the Bastard. Orokin muddled. Squealed to the council, did you? Relating to alleged acts on Sulaments, this scarab is slaved to your neural signature and will alert the council if it detects non-compliant travel. Failure to present yourself in original body, not surrogate, will be punished by the cancellation of your resurrection protocols. Glory to the infinite empire. The image winked out, and Orokin swore, for he was going on trial. We're at the trial part. You tattletale. You told them. Why did you tell the council? That's so mean. That's so funny. Is he coming? Is he coming? The speaker, Lord Nemesaur. Yeah, I'm not going to say that last one. I can't pronounce that. Lord Nemesaur rested his hyperface sword tipped down on the floor of the dais. With a hard twist, he sent it spinning like a top. The unbalanced energy blade making a sound like a faulty turbofan as it rotated in place. Each time he caught the hilt just before it lost momentum and fell. Thwomp, 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 catch. Thwomp, 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 catch. A summons from the Awakened Council carries full force of law, said Trazyn. Orokin will come. And if he does not, Trazyn thought, you will cancel his remaining protocol, and Executioner Phyllis will hunt him down with that great execution scythe of hers, which was clearly the result she hoped for. She had been sharpening the great half-moon blade since they had convened, running a molecular smoother over the orbit of the pointed field of the power field, aligning the particles along the wicked edge. Nothing more dangerous than a bored killer. Do you agree? Zubercar? Yeah, I think this is Zubercar. Zubercar asks the Ferak to his left. I do, replied Ferak. Asaria? Yeah, Asaria. Her voice icy. Furious as usual, the great Mir Overlord was addressing her as an equal. I concur, said High Metallurgist. Quelak? Yeah, Quelak. Learning forward from the platform's third throne. His body holds authority in these disputes, so says the law. Zubikar shrugged, spun the sword. Womp 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 catch. Seize that, snapped Osaria. 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 Snapped Osaria. Dejening? Yeah. Dejening to turn her head towards the Overlord. Her title diadem of veil clattering. It's interminable? Interminable. It's interminable. You may be a Varric, Zubikar said, but you are a Fairtech of the Ritek. I owe you no obedience. The two locked oculars. Trazyn had little doubt that they were trading insults through interstitial transfer? Yeah. Interstitial transfer. Please, my comrades, Quaylak said. On his dais, we are equals. It is the keystone of our great peace. Our body holds the empire together. We owe allegiance not to each other, but to the oaths we have taken. The rivals broke eye contact. The rivals broke eye contact and, as one, looked at the cryptic. Not that you need reminding, he said, shrinking back into his chair. Trazyn swallowed a smile. Quaylak was right, of course. Not that it would help his cause. Even before biotransference, Necrontyr society had been conservative and... I was about to say heretical. That's not it. Hello. Where was I? Crazy swallow smile. Even before biotransference. Here it is. The infinite and divine? Yes, the infinite and divine. I'm struggling a lot of these words. Conservative and here are... Oh, that is a word. Yeah, hold on. I'm just gonna... Yeah, that word right there. Most petty beef between the greatest curator and the greatest space pope of the Necrons. Honestly, this is literally just two old men bickering back and forth. I just got to the trial part. I'm at the beginning of it where Orokin was summoned to the trial, and then a bunch of like high-ranking Necrons are talking amongst each other. And those instincts held sway even in these strange times. After the war in heaven, when the Catan star gods fought the Old Ones, with the Necrons as their imprisoned metal army, the Necrons had seen their chance to avenge the deception of biotransference. Rising up, they slew their erstwhile gods, shattering them into pieces and stealing the shards, each still powerful enough to level cities in huge tesseract labyrinths. Yet in destroying the old gods, yet in destroying the old ones, the divine Catan, even the implacable Necrons had overtaxed themselves. It was clear the Eldari were the rising race and would shape the galaxy's next great epoch. But metal dynasties knew that no era lasts forever, and they had the advantage of deathless sleep. Already, Orokin had foreseen the fall of the Eldari and rise of mankind. All of Necron kind sleeping 60 million years in stasis. The galaxy was a wild place, though. Even the genius of the cryptex had its limits. Occasional faulty awakenings occurred, perhaps only affecting one sarcophagus, or another times the tomb of a whole phalanx. It was entirely random, part of no plan, affecting everyone from the lowest warriors of the of foot to those pharaonic rank like the Assyria, who had awoken to find herself the only conscious being on her silent tomb world. Without the rigid class structure holding them in check, those awakened by fault fell to chaos. Some awakened whole Decurians without the aid of a cryptech. Yeah. Damaging the neural pathways of their fellows and turning them into automatons. Others took the opportunity to settle old scores, murdering rivals as they slumbered in their sarcophagi. It was the Triarch Praetorians, an order of cloistered, an order of cloistered warriors who had these words, man. Why do they gotta use such big ones? I wouldn't say big ones, but hard to pronounce ones. Who had eschewed sleep to watch over the stasis tombs, who finally insisted on the council, and they had given it Phileas? Yeah, and they had given it Phileas as their executioner, and Trazyn suspected their spy. Ye olde English, yeah. Also, my inability to read, that also doesn't help. The Awakened Council of the Necrons, minimalist, and the Awakened Council gave the Necrons a minimalist ad hoc government. They protected the sleepers under pain of death and set strict limits on the number and type of artificial risings. With premature resurrection so often leading to damage, no Necron was to be admitted except under circumstances of dire necessity. Itchy nose. But in a society where feuds were commonplace, its greatest task was to settle disputes with tribunals like the one Orokin would, in a bare moment, be late to. Phileas tested the blade of her scythe on the edge of a metal tomb. Zubrakar spun around the sword. Thwomp, 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 catch. One more time. Really shrieked and tore, lighting the death mass of the council with a balefire. Yeah, with balefire. A rough translation, the kind considered in a hurry. I would prefer we make this quick, said Orokin. Green fire still leaking at his body. Let me summarize, said the diviner. I am accused of stealing an object from Overlord Trazyn and destroying old, worthless clutter. Priceless antiques, Trazyn corrected, holding out his wooden cane as an exhibit. The inlaid wood was snapped in two, its splintered ends already decomposing from its time out of the stasis field. Priceless and worthless are the same thing, Orokin spat. And I remember a time when you were all too eager to give up that noble stick. No, that hobble stick, not noble. And I remember a time when you were all too eager to give up that hobble stick. But if you must, draw up a list and we shall discuss restitution. Yeah, that. Yes, Judge, kill him now. Judge, top of his balls. Thank you. The relative worth of these objects, Quaylek said, curbing Trazyn's response, is not for you to decide, Orokin. If you admit to this theft and vandalism of a tomb world, it is a serious offense. The law prescribes banishment or death. A law created by this body, Orokin snapped. A body whose authority in this matter I do not recognize. Trazyn smiled. Same old Orokin, hostile to any authority, no matter how powerful. He would fistfight the sun if he thought it was telling him what to do. It was why Trazyn had pursued this course. The diviner would build his own mausoleum, block by block. And why is that? Required Asura. We have held those tribunals without challenge for centuries. Perhaps, said Orokin, but not with me. It was not a fair process. High metallurgist, Quaylek. Do you recall our dispute as young adepts? A long time ago, my colleague, he faltered. The stars have wheeled quite a bit since then. Assyria, Orokin snapped, already ignoring the high metallurgist. My lovely Farrak, I believe you still owe me a debt for a divinatory service. A substantial uncollected debt. After all, who else could have predicted where your brother, the Pharaon, and his 7 heirs would be on that unfortunate day? Orokin out here using bribes. He's like, listen, I did this thing for you, so now you gotta do a thing for me. Assyria stiffened. Zupakar leaned back, laughing and shaking in his bulkhead-jawed head. Cunning Minix. You said they were lost in a void storm. And Lord Nemesis Zubakar, Orokin continued, pausing after each title. We have no dealings, but the Mefrit are old and... excuse me. We had no dealings, but the Mefrit are old enemies of the Sautek dynasty. I would not put it past you to continue that kin feud. I wouldn't either, Zubakar confessed, patting a hand on his blood-colored chest armor. The Mefrit had never been shy about their viciousness. Come to your point, Trazyn rumbled darkly, then quieted as Executioner Phileas turned to him and placed a finger to her lipless mouth. As much as Trazyn is a shitter meme mood, he really brought beef to his own trial. Bro, he was upset that his things got broken, so he sued them. Oh, dude, Trazyn is probably like, whatchamacallit. Trazyn's the biggest troll in the galaxy, in my opinion. I love this man. He's so funny. I love him. In summation, Orokin continued, no judgment you hand down will be free from perception of bias. And given the size and stature of my dynasty, are you willing to risk the Pharaoh's displeasure when he wakes to find an unsanctioned council has executed his chief seer? Silence. The three figures sat the statue still on their onyx thrones, symbols of power that felt shakier than they had a moment before. He would, no doubt, unleash the Storm Lord. Orokin let that hang, then turned to Quaylak. Bro is actually threatening me like, hey, yo, he might just send the Storm Lord after you. And I know who the Storm Lord is. He's a scary man. He's a scary robot. High Metallurgist. You campaigned with Lord Emotech on Calliope. You campaigned with Lord Emotech on Calliope, did you not? Perhaps you can enlighten your fellow. What do you call yourselves? Ah, yes, council members. What happened when the Stormlord goes forth in his panoply of war? Again, silence. All knew what had happened to the Kuvu dynasty at Calliope. Even now, 60 million years and several celestial wars later, gone like the Kanuvu was a regular idiom in Necrontyr speech. Back when their kind still ate, it was what one said after clearing an entire plate. It would, began Quaylak. It would be prudent to remove the appearance of bias. Perhaps we should suspend proceedings, said Asura. Only until a suitable representative of the Sautek has arisen to oversee the proceedings on behalf of the dynasty. It was what they would do for us, added Zupercat, aware that the transcription scarabs would record his words, but not his disbelieving tone. Will that serve you, Trazyn? It damn well won't, Trazyn shouted, dialing back his venom when Aphilius put up a hand. I, as a death corpse of Krieg enthusiast, welcome death, no matter how scary it is. Only that I die for the Emperor ends my duty. Only in death does duty truly end. Sir Krieg soldier. Only in death does duty end. If you can still breathe, then you can still serve His Majesty and the Golden Throne. It damn won't, he repeated. Until a Sautek representative awakens, it's not scheduled for another 10 millennia. In this Jackal's son, the defendant, can control the stasis crypts on Mandragora. The Pharaoh will awaken. The Pharaoh will awaken when he wills it. As the accusatory, I cannot accept this. Have you a solution then? Orokin asked. If this body is not willing to continue, then what else is there to do but to spend it and issue a continuance? Trazyn paused, reviewing the volumes of Necrontyr law he encoded in his last decade of study. He watched Orokin smile, the diviner clearly misinterpreting his hesitation as a loss of words. Keep smiling. Reactor leak, he thought. If Tribunal cannot hear cannot hear the case, he said. As accusatory, I assert my right to a meditator. A what? Orokin said. A meditator, replied Quaylak. Yes, indeed, that is the proper procedure. It is? Zubercat narrowed his oculars. When the council formed, Trazyn explained, you all voted that legal codes of old held sway in all instances not covered by the new codes. And I assert my ancient rights to a meditator of overlord rank or above, one that has no ties to the Sautek nor my own dynasty. I can't pronounce the word, so I'm going to say that. Meditor? Hold on. Mediator. No, there's not a second T in there. I think I'm not pronouncing the A. There you go. That word. Okay. The council members looked at Quaylak. It is proper, the cryptex said. It could be done, but where to... Mediato? Okay. But where to find Mediato? You asked, Assyria? Forgive me for interjecting, Varric, said Trazyn. This is a council world, one with dynamic representatives entombed below. And I'm sure the Hyde metallurgist could call upon his skills to raise one in safety, provided we came to agreement on whom to select. Close enough. I'm sorry. Words are hard. Trazyn cast a glance at Orokin, scrying his demeanor. Though the seer's death mask remained impassive, Trazyn received a glyph message via the interstitial link. Bastard. He sent him a DM that just says, bitch. The selection process took 2 standard years of bickering. Politicking, and the occasional threat of violence. It was, in other words, a standard Necron court case. It was no accident that all dispute resolutions were, by highly practical tradition, observed by an armed executioner. More than a few cases in the ancient records ended with the phrase, "Case dismissed after accusatory's dismemberment." But finally, the council made their selection. It has been 60 million years, said Overlord Vox, his orange oculars blinking with the haze of tomb sleep. He would remember soon that he no longer needed to blink. Indeed, Overlord, said Quaylak, bending over the stasis sarcophagus, which was propped up at an angle, its occupant still within. It would be best not to move your body over much, my lord. We have primarily awoken your neural matrices and vocal actuators. This will assist your re-entombment procedure afterward. Apparently my third language, which I earned top grades, is hard, but I know people struggle with it. But your voice is soothing. Oh, thank you. I'm glad my voice is soothing. Why? We need you to adjudicate a case, my lord. The High Metallurgist explained. After all, you were chosen to be the Charnovok representative here, were you not? I have encoded the particulars of the accusatory's writ. Do you see them? Yes, said the Overlord hissed. One slow hand gripping the narrow steel beard that jutted from his chin and rubbing it between two fingers. Proceed. Trazyn stood before the onyx dais, preparing his case. It was not exactly how he'd expected this to play out. But then again, trying a case a mere 12 years after an offense was almost scandalously fast by Necron standards. The sort of frontier justice portrayed in the theatrical dramas, not how things happened in reality. We woke you up because we can't agree on anything. That is so true. Yeah, he's like, hey, listen, we can't come to an agreement. He hates, this guy hates that guy, and that guy definitely hates that guy. And this guy broke this guy's stuff, took him to trial, and he doesn't really have a representative because it's going to take too long for a representative to wake up. So you now need to help us with this trial. You're going to adjudicate it, and you're going to see if the guy who had his stuff broken is in the right or wrong, is in the right or wrong. Okay? Okay. The fact that this itself, though, like, it took 10 years to get the trial together and then another 2 to pick a person. That's insane. And even then, that's considered fast for Necron standards. Which is crazy to think about. Trazyn activated an orbiculum, casting a projection of the Astarium Mysteriosus in the center of the chamber. It rotated in space, semi-translucent, surrounded by ocular captures of Orokin Burgularizing? Burgularizing. All this right off the bat with no coffee, at least. Let me have some caffeine before I meditate anything, please. 12 standard years ago, Orokin called, the diviner, seer of the Necron tier, feloniously entered the tomb world of Solomons in the attempt to steal this artifact, the Asterium Mysteriosus. In his addled state, he believed it would be a prize worth in his adolescent state, he believed it would be a prize worth destabilizing the peace for. I apprehended him. In his escape, he destroyed a host of precious cultural objects recovered from home soil. Trazyn swept his hand left and right, scrolling through the chronopraise holograms of snapped canes, shattered vessels, and a pipe with a broken stem. These objects. How did you obtain that? Pointed Zubikar. A pipe? Standard acquisition of procedures, he evaded. All above board. Go back, said Zubikar. That pipe's Mefrit made. It should be in our gallery. My dear Overlord, Trazyn said, Solomons holds all of the objects in trust for the good of all of our kind. Oh, 3-minute ad break is starting soon. Okay. Damn that. It has my family sigil on it. If you make a formal request through proper channels, we can certainly arrange its return, Trazyn said. He of course made all decisions regarding the gallery, but had always found that we as a magical word for deflecting blame. But we firmly believe that these precious relics should be in the place where experts can ensure their proper preservation and display. List of stuff he broke, please find him. Get me money and replacements, please. Yeah, I like him to pay me for the replacements. These are very important artifacts that have been around for 16 billion years. Their price value has gone up an incalculable number. So I would like all of his stuff in as payment. Thank you. Also his head on a plaque. I'll put it in my museum. This inquiry is not concerned with Overlord Trazyn's acquisition process. Cut in Overlord Vox. His vocal actuators now calibrated to cancel out the sleep slur. They have a sleep slur? That's funny. Trazyn could see why the Overlord was known for his power as a magistrate. He had a fine orator. He had a fine orator's voice with an undeniable sense of authority. You were in the right to protest the divider's intrusion, as well as his vandalism. It's no small thing, but I see no reason to pursue death or banishment. Restitution can be made through the re-engraving of several thousand Sautek warriors and their transfer to your command, or the surrender of planetary tithes. Indeed, that may be too radical considering your dubious ownership. Given that, why have you escalated this petty dispute so high? I.e., imagine Fat Fingers, my apologies, being Trazyn's lawyer through all of this. Yeah, imagine being Trazyn's lawyer through all of this. Dude, that'd be crazy. I don't know how you could defend any of these guys. And even then, my brain would be so fried, man. A trial that took, again, 10 years to get together, and then it's been going on for 2 years. And it's only been going on for 2 years because they had to find a guy to be adjudicator. Trazyn had reconjured the projection, settling it on the puzzle box. This is the Astarium Mysteriosus, the object of Orokin's desire. A puzzle box? Asked Vox. A mere puzzle box, said Orokin, before a glance from Vox hushed him. A map, corrected Trazyn. An encrypted celestial chart and certain esoteric corners of our society. The Astarium was used to reveal the location of the occult gatherings or arcane pilgrimage sites. They can be activated by a spoken key phrase or coordinates, opening when they're at a specific point on the galactic plane. Each one is individual, and each becomes inert after its successful use. I believe this one to have been already used, or even a replica. But you no longer believe that? Orokin would not have been so rash if he thought it inert. Trazyn stared at his rival, but instead of hatred, Orokin's hooded eye was fixed on him with interest. He suspects that it leads to a fabulous treasure. Okay, we got a couple seconds before the ad break starts, so we're gonna put the pause right there. Ah. Man, the trial is actually going underway. It's pretty interesting. And all that good stuff. So it seems that you got a council of people. Takes forever to get together, man. But I think at this point I'm just repeating myself here. I'm repeating words in different ways. Maybe I should talk about other things. What other things should we talk about right now? I did get more Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I ordered a bunch of fusion monsters that work well with polymerization. So that's pretty cool. I got stuff like the Mud Dragon of the Swamp, Starming Venom Fusion Dragon, Predoplant, Drago Sepilia. I got Garuda. I got 5-headed dragon, because whatchamacallit? Like Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes is really relevant, so I figured, like, you know what? Why not use like the Super Poly and get 5-headed dragon on the field. That's if obviously if there's 5 dragons on the field and whatnot. I do got Predaplant Verte Anaconda, like the physical copy. That one's actually really, really cool. I also now finally have a copy of SP Little Knight, and I couldn't be happier about that. We love SP Little Knight. SP Little Knight is such a good card. I love fusion cards. They are gambled to have the right cards, basically gambling with high risk, high reward. I do have a physical Blue Eyes deck. It's not fully completed. I'm needing a good chunk of Primite cards, which I have none of. And then and then I think I'm missing a couple cards for the extra deck. I do. There's a couple synchro cards that I'm missing for the extra deck that I want, because like I have Crimson Dragon and whatnot, and I want to put some other fusion dragons and level 12 synchro dragons. But I definitely want to get my grubby little mitts and the Primite cards, because not only are they like, good for blue eyes, but they're like good for dragon decks in general. And I do like me some dragons. And then I also want to put a Horus deck together. I have like all the Horus cards, so I just need to get myself some good staples. I need to get more staples, honestly. I don't have very many good ones. Dragons are rather cool. Indeed they are. You know what sucked? I actually pulled I was pulling cards from card packs on stream like a long time ago, and I actually pulled quarter century rare Appaloosa alternative art, and I pulled her right before she got banned in the TCG, and I was like, God dang it, bro, now I can't use her. Which sucks. And I also have a good chunk of Beasteel cards too. I have and again, this was before they got banned, but I got 3 Magnemite, I got 3 Druid Worm, and then I have 3 Saronir. Which, that's cool. And then I have a fully completed Dark Magician deck, which is pretty fun to play. Alrighty, the ad break is over. But yeah, I definitely want to get the Primite cards. It sucks because like the main Primite like dragon that you need, he's a tad bit on the expensive side. He's almost like $30 per card. So, you know, but back to it. Let's see here. I think I was actually at the top of this page. And do you have any idea where it leads? Vongsh leaned slightly forward in his casket, propping himself up on an elbow. Quaylek approached him, fussing, and he waved the high metallurgist away. Do not make us wait. According to the encoded glyphs on its surface, Trazyn said, pausing to enhance the drama, the Asterium Mysteriosus leads to the tomb of the Nefereth. The Nefereth the Untouched, the last natural pharaoh of the Amunos dynasty. Amunos. I almost said Among Us, by the way. That's bad. I'm a little bit of brain rot. Okay. There was a pause, then a barking laugh from Zubrikar. Nefereth the Untouched, he mocked. From that god awful long tragedy? Yes, said Trazyn. Nefereth is primarily known as a character in the theatrical drama The War in Heaven, but he did exist. They are such drama queens. Of course he existed, Farrak, Ossuria sniped. It's a historical play, or historically inspired at least. But to suggest that any of it resembles what actually occurred. You remember, do you? Inquired Trazyn. I mean, truly remember. Step forward. If you recall the days before biotransference, can anyone tell me with certainty that their mnemonics contain a perfect record with no deterioration during the eons of sleep? None stepped forward. The high metallurgist shifted uncomfortably. They all knew what biotransference had done to them. Mnemonics of the flesh times were like memories of an adult has of childhood. One knows that one was a child, that one was born and lived years only through secondhand stories. Knows that there are friends, once close companions in youth, who are nothing but fleeting ghosts in memory. Sensations disconnected from context. Things retained, but with no memory of learning them. One knows the color blue, but cannot recall the first time one knew its name. Indeed, it was the purpose of those mawkish stage dramas to reference Necron history, lest they forget. It was the reason why even oafs like Zubrikar knew characters and plots inside and out, despite hating their length. They had, to be clear, grown punishingly long now that actors could memorize thousands of pages via engrammatic recall, and the audience had no biological needs to interrupt the performance. The forgotten cryptic playwrights who'd contributed to the drama had gone overboard. A full performance could take well over a decade. which is hilarious to say the least. I mean, true, you could make an extremely long story now. It's like you're immortal and you're a robot, so like you have no need to like eat, sleep, pee, or poop, you know, all the other, you know, hygiene and whatnot. they can actually make an entire one-to-one recreation of One Piece. That would be hilarious. My research has concluded that the dramas may be more accurate than previously believed, said Trazyn. He waved towards the orbiculum, summoning bas-reliefs depicting the war in heaven. Necrontyr warriors and star chariots worn free of detail by the antiquity of the carving advance on the old one's doom engines. It appears that indeed Nefereth was called untouched due to genetic resistance to the radiation induced cancers afflicting our former bodies. Further research suggests that his rebellion against the star gods, his doomed resistance to the process of biotransference indeed occurred. Trazyn looked at Orokin. The diviner stared intently at the holographic bas-relief, rubbing one of the strands of tiles that fell from his shoulders. One tile was still missing, the one Trazyn had ripped from the diviner during the struggle on Solomon's. It hung at Trazyn's hip now, amidst the Eldari gemstone and other curious that dangled there, a reminder of his revenge. But Trazyn had difficulty reading the diviner's mood. Apprehension, perhaps, or merely interest. How much of this did he know? Here, drama and history diverges, Trazyn said. In the drama, Nefereth was killed attacking the star gods, scorched to nothing by the Burning One. But my archive contains an account that Nefereth's own dynasty betrayed him, murdering their pharaoh and his followers to broker peace with the star gods and gain the gift of biotransference. Quite an anticlimax, Vokash muttered. Indeed, said Trazyn. But his relatives of the Amunus dynasty, despite their betrayal, apparently wished to hedge their bets. After all, they processed the only genetically uncorrupted sample of the Necrontyr species, free of disease and blight. Trazyn swept the projection, calling up a manuscript illustration of a death procession carrying a stasis casket into a towering gateway. They hid the dead pharaoh in a stasis tomb complex called Sephirus, hoping to return and recreate the species if they found biotransference not to their liking. So why didn't they? Asked Fox. Return, I mean? And Trazyn shrugged. Unclear, but just as we cannot remember Nefereth, his followers may have forgotten how to activate the device. Over time, they forgot even what it led to. Thus, its name, the Mysterious. The Mysterios. A mystery. Fascinating, said Vox. What purpose do you have for keeping this object, Trazyn? Trazyn stopped. He wants it for his gallery, said Orokin. To stare at it, or rather, not to stare at it. He didn't even know what he had. It was simply collect dust, a curio serving no purpose. And what purpose would it serve you, Orokin? Asked Fox. None, growled Trazyn. He doesn't believe in a return to the flesh. Orokin wants us to be... He waved his fingers in the air. Energy beings, things of light, If he found Nephirath, he would likely incarnate the Pharaon to keep rival cryptics from finding a solution that was not his. Ulterior motives, my overlord. Ulterior motives, you say? Proud Orokin. Ask how he acquired it. It's not your time to speak. It's not your time to speak, Sandtick, snarled Trazyn. Yes, quite right, said Voksh. But the question stands. How did you acquire this? Legitimately, Trazyn turned off the oculum and packed it in his pocket dimension. And if that is all, legitimately, how? Voksh pressed. It was part of a lot acquisition from the Amunos crown world of Hashtor. Tragic story, Hashtor. A solar flare from the local star triggered a failure cascade to its stasis systems. It is a dead world, legal under salvage. Oh my god, just kiss already. The tension here, man. Enough to make a robot sweat. No one moved. The Amunis had been powerful, secretive, and distrusted, but their absence would be a blow. The Animos dynasty, Trazyn paused, looking around the room to let the message sink in, will not come to claim it. The council and executioner stood, stunned at the dire pronouncement. Voksh murmured in the back of his throat, that appears to be legal under salvage. Ah, goaded Orokin. But when did you acquire it? He took a step forward. Tile stands rattling against his skeletal body. I have not yielded the floor, said Trazyn. Did you steal the Mysterios before the Amunis died out, or after? Because by my auguries, you raided their vault for artifacts well before the solar flare. In fact, immediately when it became clear the solar flare would snuff them out. Your information, Trazyn said, with a hint of frost, is incorrect and out of procedure. Necrons listening to this are sweating, and they're made of living metal, yeah. Wait, said Voksh. Are you alleging that Overlord Trazyn, aware of the solar flare, did not alert the Tomb World's deep spirit and instead raided it for artifacts? Just so, said Orokin. As you heard him say, the Amunis dynasty would not have come to claim it. A perfect theft. He walks away with the goods, and the cosmos wipes out the victim. No one can complain. That is ridiculous, Trazyn said. Villain, crowd Orokin. Plotter, traitor to your own kind. Is it true? Demanded Voksh. Keep in mind that my vocal sanctors are on high alert, and any lie will be detected. Blood ravens will like to counter this claim. Well, Trazyn tuttered in frustration, understand there was very little time to make a decision. A groan went up from the council. No. Listen, he stumbled. Awakening a tomb world takes time, at least half a century. Even under optimal conditions, to save even higher orders would have taken more time than was available. So I focused on salvaging what I could from the material culture. Murder, snarled Farak Asura. You who should be on trial, Trazyn, not I, sang the diviner. I foresaw your treachery and... Wait, Trazyn mentioned for a moment. You foresaw it? Of course, I foresaw the horror of biotransference, the fall of the Eldari. Have you seen the coming hungry creatures you cannot fathom and... If you foresaw the solar flare, asked Trazyn, why did you not stop it? Did you hope to sweep in afterwards and take the Astarium without resistance? Orokin stared, frozen. His mouth worked, giving a metallic clunk, clunk, clunk. Ah, you misunderstood me, I think. Executioner, said Vox. Take them both. Am I a Slanesh demon? I am not. I'm not part of Slanesh. No, no, no. I'm not part of the chaos. But I like how Trazyn flipped it around. He's like, wait, you foresaw this solar flare? Well, before I even decided to come and take the stuff? Why didn't you wake them up? Quite curious. They done cook themselves and not each other. Honestly, yeah. They're just telling on themselves. Okay. Bastards, muttered Orokin. In fingering his ritual tiles, I knew Vox was a bad idea. You have Trazyn? Ooh. You have the steely man himself, the man that steals things. The biggest troll. The Immunos dynasty, Trazyn paused, looking around the room to let the message sink in, will not come to claim it. The council executioner stood, stunned at the dire pronouncement. Wait, what? Huh? His mouth worked, giving metal and clink, clink, clink. You misunderstood me. I think Mr. Vox, take them both. Bastards, but Orokin was no. What? I read this before. Huh? Excuse me. I feel like a kindergarten teacher, and I feel like both of them deserves a spanking. Sad news, said the adjudicator from her stasis casket. She raised her head. The resurrection orbs that hung from her headdress, tinkling like a chandelier. I assume you are claiming salvage rights? Trazyn breathed a sigh of relief. Or at least the closest he could get to one without lungs. He had worried that Supreme Excellent Lady Elam was not the right one to conduct this trial. He feared a lighter touch might let Orokin run wild. Yet he had been relatively subdued. And yet Trazyn felt displaced. A feeling he could not access perturbed him. Reactor coolant sloshed around his innards, as if he experienced a hard translation. He felt strange, hit by his hip, and noticed the ritual tile which hung there. The one he'd taken from Orokin was warm. Odd. Overlord Trazyn, Supreme Excellent Lady Elam. Do you wish to claim your salvage rights? Yes. Yes, indeed I do, Overlord. Ah, Supreme Lady, Adjudicator. Are you well, Trazyn? The Supreme Excellent Lady's oculars folded in concern. If the vulnerable Trazyn is done, cut in Orokin. I have evidence to present. Please do, nodded Elam. Overlord, please sit down. Clearly what you witnessed on Hashdor has affected you. Deeply. If you have more evidence to present, you may do so after you have recovered. Is he completely clicked the 40,000 Warhammer? Trazyn, the spooky Pokemon trainer. A human generation was born, grew up, and died out before the trial is even entering remission. Honestly. That did not seem like the worst idea, Trazyn thought. His head felt clogged. His central reactor cycled at a dangerous rate, and that sense of unreality refused to abate. He locked his legs and took the weight off his frame, a seat without a chair. My lady, said Orokin, as you see, Lord Trazyn, a dear friend for many centuries, is having difficulty. Biotransference and a great sleep have taken toll on all of us, I fear. But this is but a misunderstanding. Trazyn stopped, turned his head. Misunderstanding? Poor Trazyn. He invited me to conduct research on supplements, you see. Orokin opened a dimensional pocket and withdrew the Astarium Mysteriosus. I also have a device. We are comparing them. Trazyn's eyes found the device and locked there. His sense of being in two places, his void sick feeling, stopped as if the Astarium Mysteriosus anchored him. Partway through our symposium, he became confused. The poor being accused me of stealing his device, even set his lich guard on me. Trazyn reached out a hand, bombarded the Astarium with his spectrometer. Yeah, received the results. Of course, I had to defend myself. He transmuted it, roared Trazyn. You solved the first puzzle. He leaped up from his crouch, bounding towards the device. Orokin shrank back and the executioner reached for Trazyn, but he leapt away, opening his projection, adding his spectromatic data. The composition is exactly the same, see? The exact same. Trazyn snarled as the two component reports joined into one, signaling a 100% match. He's lying to you. All heads turned towards Orokin. He taped a finger on the Astarium, calculating his next move. Oh hell, he said. The Immunos dynasty, Trazyn paused to let the message sink in, will not come to claim it. The council and executioner stood stunned at the desired pronouncement. Wait. Is Orokin reversing time when things don't work his way? Orokin is reversing time when things don't go his way. He's going through a different timeline. He's save scumming. But that alone does not confirm your salvage rights, does it? Said Overlord Balbec. Yeah, because the Overlord Adjudicator keeps changing. His voice resonating inside the stasis casket. He raised his head. The golden sketches of water flowers engraved on his death mask, catching the wan light. We cannot simply claim anything we find. It is lawless, and there may be other interested parties. What? Said Trazyn, finding the void sick feeling in his internals. The backbone floor rocked like a command barge, needing an attitude calibration. He tasted radiation coolant in his mouth. An interstitial alert, overheating on his right hip. Trazyn looked down to find Orokin's tile glowing white hot, hissing where it contained the cold metal on his hip. If I may, Overlord, said Orokin, stepping into the center. From my understanding, the Astaria Mysteriosus is exempt from the laws of salvage. It's part of the common heritage owned by all Necron kind. Overlord Balbec nodded. Yes, Balbec nodded. As I said, other interested parties. Indeed, Orokin continued. Lord Trazyn has argued quite convincingly that this tomb should be found, should it be found, would be not only a treasure of history, but also a path forward for our kind. Hello, Sonic the Hedgehog. Rewind save scum so he can have Trazyn killed, honestly. Yeah, he's going back through every dialogue tree so that he could fingers crossed kill Trazyn. He just wants God, bro. He wants the Trazyn's death and him lived ending. Trazyn stared at the burning tile. It nagged at him. He had seen it before. Images flashed in his mnemonic blanks, lighting up his neural cavity with flashes that came and went like sparks from an overloaded power relay. A headdress, power orbs hanging from it like a chandelier, the deep voice of a courtroom orator. He put a hand to his aching cranium. The tile burned through his smoking cord and dropped to the floor. After all, said Orokin, why should the Nihilak control this incredible find? Whoever takes the Astaria Mysteriosus should have a chance to seize this once-in-eternity opportunity for power. Trazyn felt the imminence recede. It was as if the ornament had been pulling him apart. And as it smoldered on the floor, he heard the shouts of assessment and excitement from the council members. Partisans, every one of them, thought Trazyn. They might claim that they fight for Necrontyr, for the Infinite Empire, or their own kind, but it was a lie. They wanted power for their pharaohs, for themselves. Asura murdered her brother and nephews. Zubrakar could not feel powerful without conquest. Even the meek high metallurgist Quaylak had betrayed friends on the way to his position. Graspers, all of them, the fools, thought they would beat Orokin in the tomb. They saw him an acratic, half-mad astrologer. But he was so much more dangerous than that. And Balbec, so rapidly loyal to his own dynasty, was the most mercenary. Balbec, whom Trazyn had backed as adjudicator simply because Orokin had protested so greatly when the council proposed him. All at once, Trazyn realized he had been tricked. Orokin had wanted that bias, counted on it working in his favor. Very well, said Balbec. The Astaria Mysteriosus will be owned by all and none. Free object belonging to he who possesses it. Stealing it shall be no crime. Killing for it no sin. And whoever opens the crypt may keep its contents for the greater glory of their dynasty. Orokin looked at him, grinning, and in his core, Trazyn knew the Chronomancer had bested him. In the ritual tiles swinging from his shoulders radiated heat so bright it reflected off his long steel bones. And with his mind clearing, Trazyn realized that what the Chronomancer had done. So it was war, Diviner. He sent over and Turiel message. If you want to if you can catch me, archivist. Alrighty, you have a good one. if if I was the judge, I would agree that Orokin and Trazyn are now married with no chance of filing for divorce. Alrighty, chapter 5. We got looks like not many more pages. We are on page 89 now. We're trying to get to 100 before we stop. Yeah, we are making excellent progress. I like this. Okay, chapter 5. Mandragora, 9,984 years before the Great Awakening. Orange. That's a weird way to start it, but okay. Orange. After 6 centuries, Orokin was sick of orange. It was tinted. Everything in his astromanic observatory, from the blackstone floor to the furrow-conductive astrolabus, to the dead oculars of the cryptex, now 20 in number, that knelt around the Asteria Mysteriosus in concentric layers of octagons. When I struggle with the word octagons, hello? Okay. Their representative chanting of the 88 theorems buzzed in Orokin's auditory transducers, filtered out so it didn't drive him insane. But the orange light and repetitive chants, much as they annoyed him, were necessary. Zatoth's harmonious sphere was a difficult conduction to sustain, especially as a subroutine. It would have taken most of Orokin's neural functions to bring into being, leaving him incapable of analysis. In the orange light it casts, visible to no matter, and the orange light it casts, visible no matter the spectrum, was a small nuisance, considering it let him conduct his rituals outside the flow of time. For every century that passed outside the God damn. Excuse me. Oh. Oh. Okay. All right. We're fine. We're okay. It's cool. Oh. Where are we? Outside the flow time. Okay. For every century that passed outside the chronostatic field, three inched by within. Orokin possessed limitless patience for study, lost himself in it, let the pursuit define him, became nothing but programming and thought that worked the problem. He's floated on a suspender field, fingers positioned in the open eye of Sut. Perception suite dialed back. Soon the canoptic wraiths and scarab swarms ordered to replace fluids and cool reactors every 6.4 years standard. God, please, thank you. Would move in the background as unreal blurs. He surrendered his physical self, allowed his consciousness protocols to slip into his astral algorithm. His astral algorithm could go forth from his mental frame. Oh, so his astral algorithm can go forth from his mental frame. Any Necrons can transfer their consciousness. Even the meanest overlord could scry part of his mind through the ocular systems of his warriors and scarabs, seeing what they saw. Trazyn, dead gods burn him, could even transfer his consciousness into a new, into new surrogate bodies. Hi, kitty cat. Orokin would give 10 worlds to know the Orokin would give 10 worlds to know how the archivist did that, though he suspected it involved some mean alien artifact rather than personal study. Trazyn was a bore and clumsy. Trazyn was a bore, a clumsy meddler, a mere Orokin refocused. Projection required serenity, a mind clear of the looping subroutines of obsession and anger. Anger that was his stumbling block. Always there. Anger, a spiteful shallow flowing him into the astral plane. Even when he projected, it tied him to his body. He might lessen it, feel it grow weaker, but fury always stretched out behind him, an umbilical cable tying him to his physical self. He touched it with his astral fingers, lightly, to get a read on its strength. They should have listened, bastards. They never. About normal then, he was feeling good after his victory over Trazyn. How he fooled the hunchback sack of Menomics, calling himself an overlord. What was an overlord to Orokin? A being wrapped with the pursuit of presence, headless of the future. The anger again he released felt himself sink deeper in the autonomic trance. Not always a bad thing, that anger. And some of his most clandestine experiments, hidden from the eyes of the other Cryptek masters, it had saved him. Snapped him back to his constructed body when the tides of the cosmos threatened to sweep his astral algorithm out into the vast blackness, a spark whirling up from the fire of existence. Another molecule pressed between the wearing gears of the planets, resigned to the pull of gravitational fields, drifting with the dust of meteor belts and rolling along the curved space. The chronostatic field held with that kept him from diffusing, maintained focus. Focus, surrender, relax, sink deeper. Listening to the dronus metronome of your power plant. Listening to the dronus metronome of your power. Listen to the droning metronome. Listen to the droning. Listen. Orokin feels it happen. No, not feels. Knows. He moves beyond feeling his essence. He moves beyond feeling as his essence slips out of his chill body and into the soft womb of the chronostatic field. Floating free, he looks back at his solid form, still floating on the suspender field. He'd back, closed ocular pointing skyward as the stars that glint through the invisible defense shield. Stars, worlds and fields of space dust, smearing technicalier across the dark sky. It has 6 years to achieve this state, and now the work begins. First century. The first 100 years passed in deep study. Orokin drifts through the drips. Orokin drifts through his etherical library, headless of time and physical constraint, disappears into texts, lives between lines of glyphs as if they are rivers running by him, babbling out their knowledge as they pass. His consciousness alters, as any consciousness does after consuming new knowledge, learning from long-dead teachers. He is no longer Orokin who sits floating on Mandragora. The astral Orokin knows was some melancholy that this cannot last. That once uploaded back into the body, its systems will reassert themselves and his older personality will return. He will retain the key knowledge, but much will be lost. Letting that go, he gusts into the works of Numenois. Letting that go, he gets into the works of Numenois, studying his Crypheric scripts in ways of being of metal could not. These are historic works, indecipherable to those enclosed in the physical. Orokin rearranges the glyphs, reading them forward, in reverse, drifting through them to see the encoded backsides. Numenois was a matter of transfiguration, able to rework molecules as easily as he'd encoded the secrets of his uncollected works, line by line, with a tedium that would frustrate a moral consciousness. Orokin decrypts the tangled code. 90 years of study, only a small victory. Orokin discerns a theory that the theoretical function of the device, a better understanding of the molecule chains in the material. According to the Numenois, molecules formed at a certain resonance can be tied to celestial bodies, key to a certain gravitational signature. Sensing the overlap and alignment of directional pull, they can change depending on their location in the cosmos. Trazyn said Orokin remembers that certain asteriums opened due to location, and this state change had occurred as he passed through the webway. Could it be he thinks that this location was in the labyrinth dimension? Did I trigger a state by pure chance? Finally, there's something to test. Running a gravitational hex through the networked minds of the cryptex, he aims a gravitational projector at the asterium, its cradle encircling the puzzle box with gravitation rays. He retrieves the logs from his body on board from his body's onboard gravitometer? Gravitometer. Yeah. From his body's onboard gravitometer. Running through the fields he'd pass through on his transit through the webway. 647 field configurations. Am I still reading what it said? Yep, I'm almost close. I'm on page 94. I'm trying to get to 100. So I'm getting close. I'm almost there. Orokin sets the gravitational ray positions to the first field configuration and fires. The cryptex chanting falters. Orange fire blazes behind their oculars. Graviton beams, bright violet in his astral vision, spill and ripple over the octahedron's surface. Nothing. He moves to configuration 2 and fires. The configuration of 400. On configuration 417, he sees one ankle split. It opens like a mouth, revealing a shine of liquid emerald inside the throat of the Astarium. Then snaps tight. Close. Nearly there. 418 does it. Without a sound, but radiating extreme heat, the Astarium begins to change. Its shape edges unfold outward, turning inside out. Angles disappear. Faces fold in onto themselves. Faces fold in on themselves. Moving in a way matter should not, grinding as if it was working against purpose to regress. The octahedron becomes a pyramid once more. It vibrates in the field. A cryptek screams, his mouth smoking. To Orokin's dampened perception suite, it is no more than a loud breath. Excuse me. Another joins the chorus. Like the pop of firecrackers, one networked neural system fails, then another. They shriek with the pain they should not feel. Orokin shuts the gravitometer down. Cryptek heads fall forward and insensate on steel rib cages. The Astarium in his octahedron is in the Astarium is an octahedron once more. Wisps of neon smoke twisting from glyphs in its surface. For a bare moment, it projects a name in the smoking air above the device. Vishani. And a clock. 264 years, 16 hours and 4 seconds. 3 seconds. 2, 1. Apparently time is no longer on his side. 2nd century. The trace of mercury atoms, the crystal buried deep inside the Astarium. Orokin curses himself for his narrowness of thought. Rages at his own leisurely sloth until the spite threatens to yank him back into his rigid body. Mercury ions, crystal, those elements mean only one thing: a mercury ion trap, a timekeeping device. Buried inside the Asteria Mysteriosus, silently continuing the seconds, it is an atomic clock. It will open again in barely over 2.5 centuries. Whatever he'd done to it in the webway, whether intended or not, he started a countdown. But the gravitational transmutation suggests that it won't simply open at the appointed time. It has to be an appointed place. Indeed, it is possible, even likely, that his transit through the webway had unknowingly brought the Mysterious close enough close enough to its first key location, and it had transmuted. Even in the dimensional pocket where he carried it, which is impossible. But then again, it is also impossible that outside gravity affects the webway at all. With this knowledge, Orokin casts his consciousness backward in time to the beginning of his research. After all, he is a slave of the hourglass now, forced to conduct work under the device's own countdown. If he can make up a century, if he can make up a century, I thought it continued to the next page. My bad. Oh, the ad break starting soon, and then we got 1, 2, 3, yeah, like 4 more pages. Only he still finds counting down, not with more time, but less. He quickly reserves himself, shooting his consciousness back to the present. The mysterious, it seems, has been proved again against chronomancy. An alert interrupts his studies. Automatic defenses detected incoming meteorite. But spectromantic analysis indicates the object contains living metal. It notifies him of a firing solution. Greetings, Trazyn, Orokin thinks, and farewell. He does nothing, merely watches the defense grid blink to activate, then broadcasts the foreign object that the foreign object has been destroyed. Orokin goes back to his studies, looks up to see another alert, noticing that 13 months have passed since the meteorite was destroyed. This time, it's a meteorite shower, at least 30 objects hurtling towards the atmosphere. Clearly, the old archivist is trying to run the gauntlet. Zip from Zero Gate to Zero Gate. Good luck to him. Automated defenses count down the number of remaining meteorites from 30 to 15 to 2. The surface of the chronostatic sphere ripples like a disturbed pond as the backwash of Mandragora's air defense grid lets loose. Doomsday cannons and death rays lance the reality outside. If mortals had been there, their lungs would have cooked breathing the superheated air. All targets are destroyed. Orokin dismisses the notice and runs the last decrypt equation on a minor work of calculus. A rather pedestrian treat site? Yeah, a rather pedestrian treat site on gridded cryptomatic equations, but necessary background reading nonetheless. Satisfied at the preparations, he turns to the main object of his research phase. Oh, of this research phase. That's what it is. How long did Orokin press the pause button to have Trazyn killed? I don't know. I don't even think I don't know if he pressed the pause button or like time is a bit wonky because he's in the webway right now. And I think time works a little bit different in the webway. Only he finds it still counting down. Not with more time, but less. He quickly reverses himself, shooting across. Wait. Oh, no. We're on this page. My bad. The Vishanic manuscripts. They are gibberish. Lines of trash glyphs without form or reason. Unreadable but obscure. A legend among Inities? No, that's not right. That's not the right word. A legend among innates? No, that's not innate. Of the cryptic mysteries. Oh, the ad break is going to start soon. Okay. You know what? Hold on. We'll snooze the ad break. We'll snooze the ad break because I'm literally almost done here. Yeah, that word. Can't figure it out. Rumor has it that they hold a great secret. But if that is true, Vishani had guarded it as well. She had been the mistress of secrets and high cryptomancer to the Emunos, the greatest occult encoder of her age. The Vishanic manuscripts are not difficult because of their encryptions alone, but their layers of encryption. Only 6 cryptechs, including Orokin, have ever decrypted the texts. All of their descriptions were different, and all of them were wrong. Two rendered a list of Emunos tomb worlds. 3 decryptions formed a history of the Emunos dynasty from 3 different narrators. Orokin's solution, Mattingly had rendered construction schematics for an impossible ziggurat, one whose structure obeyed only its own wrapped conception of physics. Load-bearing pillars, thin as thread, heavy materials stacked upon fragile ones, almost a parody of a building. Ages ago, Orokin had built a scale model in holographic chrysophrase, hoping a genomatic analysis of its angels might lead to an algebraic key. It had not. Vishanti was not brilliant because she'd hidden the solution to her manuscript. She was brilliant because she encoded many solutions into the text. Indeed, there were masteries of the cryptech mysteries who believed the whole thing a joke, a prank to bedevil and occupy rival dynasties who hoped to learn the secrets of her pharaoh. If it was she'd miscalculated, rumor was that during the war in heaven, a rival cryptech had imprisoned and tortured her to death in search of the answer. The table went that she promised to tell them. Then when he leaned close to her answer, she overloaded her reactor, incinerating them both. Orokin had admired the sheer spitefulness of it. But why, he thinks, go through all that for a prank? Especially when one of the 6 translations, the second of the dynamic histories, was the only one to mention the Nephrinth, the untouched. If the stories are true, if the Nephrinth lies hidden, it would have been Vishani that spirited him away. And Orokin has no doubt that the Asteria Mysteriosus is her work. It's too clever, too maddening to have been made by another. Orokin works in a white heat, long obsessed with Vishanic manuscripts, and Orokin is, if anything, a being of obsession. He devours the text for hidden meanings. It is as if he's never read this text before. And 9 years into the scouring, he realizes he has not. Previously, when he'd studied the Vishanic manuscripts, it had been the hard copy kept in the library of his order, supposedly a direct copy of the one on the Emunos crown world of Hashtor. Though there had always been doubts that, given the secretive nature of Emunos, It would. Yet, as he reads, Orokin increasingly notices differences. Word orders switched here or there, variant spellings for mating differences. He reviews the Emunus copy side by side with his own data copy. They are not the same. Vishani was a data sorceress, an encoder the likes of which the cryptic mystics would never see again, floating in the aether, surrounded by code. With a flush of discovery, Orokin realizes he grasps the revelation. The reason why no one can find another layer of encoding in those 6 decryptions. The reason why no one could find another layer of encoding in those 6 decryptions. The data copy is a master document. The hard copies they'd worked on for millennia are diversions. The 6 descriptions were only the first layer of the riddle. And this decryption of the Emunus history is much more than he'd known. Nefereth was not known as the Untouched simply because his physical form was rested in the tumors. He was also unmarked in duels, because he was a projectionist, able through technology and personal focus to cast his mind onto the battlefield as a thought form. A being of energy far more powerful than the poor astral algorithm Orokin has cast. One that did not require a chronostatic field for years of trance preparation. Think of it, Orokin muses. The children sitting on the council hood and cheer over the prospect of returning to the flesh. We would be so much more. Beginnings of light and power, the eternal lives of the Necron wedded to the souls of the Necron tier. Why return to the ravages of mortality when we could become beings of the aether? Orokin dives into the esoteric treatise of Vishani, works freshly, staying rooted, overlaying the countdown on his vision so he remembers the object of his searching. Years after Orokin's awe grows. Vishani had been a rare genius. Indeed, were she still operational, Orokin's competitive nature would force him to despise her. Rivalry runs deep among cryptech masters, and he has enough self-knowledge to understand that he is prone to knowledge jealousy. Yet the dead are no rivals, and he is free to admire the mistress of the secrets for what she had been. Oh, goodness. We are now at page 100. And that is going to have to be streamed. So Orokin is Orokin is in his studies right now. He is studying he's studying the Mysterios and trying to solve its riddle, believing that he can find this untouchable Necron guy, which is quite fascinating to say the least. But yeah, we'll see if he succeeds in his research next Warhammer Wednesday. Because right now we're at the end of stream, and as it stands, there's not going to be a stream tomorrow. No stream tomorrow. However, there will be a stream Friday. I will be playing on the Minecraft server, so stay tuned for that. We gotta beat that mod pack. That mod pack has got to be beaten. If only I can find someone who can love me the way Orokin hates Trazyn. If only, man. If only. We can only dream of such things. But yeah, I do hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day or night. And I will see you all Friday. All right? Bye-bye. Oh, and if you enjoyed, consider like giving a follow, sub, like, all that other good stuff. Okay? Bye-bye.